Hello, everyone. So I'm just going to take just a moment to set up my screen. I'm streaming from my phone again. And today we're going to be going over the book cover I started 2 weeks ago, but this direction of my phone is just off a little bit. So if you just give me a moment while I adjust it, you can probably fast forward to maybe 1 minute, and then I'm gonna get started. It's gonna be really shaky for a moment. As you probably know by now, if you've been a part of this series, you know I figure things out on the go, but I do not want to waste any time, or any more time, I should say. So today I'm going to be going over book covers and continuing from the sketch that I started 2 weeks ago. So I prepped the sketch and I added some base colors, I refined the line work, so maybe I'll walk you guys through the layers. But before that, I'm just going to do a quick intro. So my name is Shalene Wright. I am an illustrator. I do children's books, book covers, murals, and everything illustration and art in between. And I am doing a process of revamping my portfolio live, and it's something that I really need to do because a lot of the work that I have in my portfolio that is seen on my website does not fully represent everything that I enjoy doing, and it doesn't represent the body of work and the skill sets that I have right now. So, for illustrators or artists who are watching who are interested in creating a children's book portfolio and what that looks like, you can watch me and we can do it together every week, every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we can figure it out together. So I've been working on a book cover, and this is what it looks like. So moving forward now, I'm going to be completing this within the next hour, maybe hour and 10 minutes. And then from there, next week, possibly, I'll just show you the finished result because there's so many hours that goes into creating a finished piece. And it's really important to dedicate that time to getting things done and getting things done well. A really big part of this project and why I'm doing it is that I really want to create pieces that represent my skill set that is accurate for this time right now, but also pieces that I love doing and something that I'm enjoying. I want this process to be enjoyable and not just work. And so creating a portfolio right now is very significant because you don't want to be drawing things or creating things for your clients of art that is not only outdated but doesn't actually represent the skills, the techniques, and the things that you actually enjoy. So here I am today trying to discover that process for myself and take you through what goes through my mind. So if you've been familiar with my work already, you know that I love to have representation in my work. So here we have Layla, and I explained what my thought process was for creating her maybe 2 weeks ago, and just the thought process. And hopefully by the end of today, I'm going to get a bit more finished. So you're going to see a lot more process from me today than I usually do. So it's going to be interesting to share what this is going to be like. So I'm just going to take a moment right now to get my just change something in my setup. I actually need to get the stress relief pads under me because I use a standing desk at home because working from home, you do not. Hey, Maliverse, what's good? It's been a while since I seen you. So using a standing desk is super important, especially if you work from home. Finding ways to make your workspace more ergonomic is really important. So I definitely invested in some stress relief pads, but I'm gonna go ahead. So this is what we're working with today. This is the base. It's very flat, very dull, but this is what we're looking like. This is what we're going for. I apologize for being absent the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, our car broke down and I had to go get it fixed. So it was definitely a position. It took a lot longer. It took the entire day. What we thought was going to be like an hour-long process ended up being actually, what was it? 5 hours. And then last week I was sick. So I'm back now and we're just going to continue with the ball, keep it rolling, and see how that goes. So usually when I approach a piece, I start with something I'm interested in. Hair is something I love doing, but honestly, it is definitely the most stressful part of a piece that I do. So I try to avoid doing it. I save it for last because it takes so much out of me, and I love to dedicate a lot of love to it. So I'm just going to start with shading the body and figure out the background later. And so I know I think I said I wanted to do a sunrise before, but actually when I started working on it, I didn't like the colors I was choosing. So for now, I'm gonna focus on making a piece that I like, that looks aesthetically pleasing, than trying to force myself to get something out of me right now. So I'm gonna go with the flow and see what happens. I haven't used any specific skin tones or shades to bring out like a perfect tone, shadows, and highlights yet. I'm just gonna figure it out on the fly. I usually do not share this part of my process because it's so grueling and gruesome for me. But let's see what happens and take it as we go. I try to keep my workflow as simple as possible. Actually, I didn't share the line work, so let's take off my layers and I'll just show you the line work that I did. What is this? Can't really see it that well, but this is what everything is looking like. I try to keep my lines super clean. It's a pet peeve of mine to keep all my work as clean as possible. And so that's just what I do. Then let's build the layers back. And here's the background a little. What's that? That's the sketch layer. Okay, so this is what we're working with. It feels a little dark for me, so I'm definitely gonna see how I can brighten it up. I know I realized that there were some authors that were messaging me from seeing some of my work here on YouTube. And if there's anything I'd love to share with authors who are hiring illustrators to do their work, you really want to work with someone who's going to give you the quality that you're looking for and that is going to drive readers to have an interest to read your book, especially because a cover and a title really sell a lot, and it's a really big part of first impressions. So you really do not want to sacrifice the quality of your cover if you can, honestly, if you can avoid it, because it's such a serious part of the process. So if you are an author listening to this, please take the time to research the illustrators and the artists that you're hiring. And even if it's a rush job, it's worthwhile to take the time to hire someone that you're confident is going to give you the idea and convey the idea, represent the characters and the story well, than it is to just get the job done sometimes. I know how hard it is to get things finished and you just want to get it done, but please, in 5 years, you want to know that you got it done, but also that the piece of work and the art that you hired to represent your book is also doing that as best as possible. So take the time to really scout out talent and look for quality, look for the conveying of ideas, look for the emotion and not just for art. Really look for the emotion because there's a lot of really amazing artists out here that are looking for opportunities. And if you take the time to look for them instead of giving yourself just an hour to just run on Fiverr and find somebody, I feel like you're really doing yourself a disservice. I really feel like it'd be great to take more time to find the artists who are out here and they want to do this work. They want to do book covers. They want to be present and to do your work. So please, if you're listening to this, consider that. So I'm gonna get started. I'm just waiting for something to load. I think I'm lagging, but I'm not quite sure if I am because I'm using my phone right now. But you know what? I'm just gonna start. I really want this character to have a deep skin tone. That's a really important factor for me. And including that is super, what was I gonna say? I feel like it's important to have characters of various skin tones and not just brown or light skin or dark skin. I really want to try to improve my body of work in representing all types of skin tones, ethnicities, and really paying attention to those nuances. So for her, I don't want to really make it too simplistic. I want to add a bit more depth to her skin tone. So let's see what I've done so far. So here is a layer. Okay. I still don't feel like this color of skin, it's very flat and it has like no dimension right now. So I'm gonna have to see. For now, I'm just gonna get the shades in that I'd like to do and then just adjust the color as I go along, because it doesn't make sense to kind of like get stuck at one stage when really my process right now is I know I'm going to be shading skin and adding some more dimension to the face. And if I get hold up on the fact that, well, the color's not right, I'm actually just subtracting from the fact that I need to just shade her skin right now. So let's just do that because it's easy to adjust the skin after. The faster you can simplify your process that in a way that makes sense to you is honestly the sooner you will move into what I would say really streamlining your workflow and predicting how long things will take. I've probably mentioned in the past, but it's super important to actually know what your process is like, because there are going to be some jobs that you get on that in the beginning, you know, it looks like a simple project, but you have to know how long it actually takes you to get through the different stages of the book so you can realistically know if this is something that will take you 3 to 6 months, 5 to 9, like 5 to 9, like where are you realistically? Because a lot of your clients, when they come to you, they don't know what your process is because it's the first time they're working with you, more than likely. So it's super important for you to know for yourself how long things take, because you have to really guide the project once you start it. Hey, Cozy Flow Illustrations, nice to see you. I hope you're doing well today. Okay, so I'm gonna give her some lashes now. A lot of people say it's important to get things done in one stroke, and I 100% agree with that. So if you could get a line done in one stroke, complete the stroke and you like it and you can move on to the next, I 100% feel like that is a good thing to do, unless it's not a part of your actual style components that is like significant for you to do. So if you guys have any questions, you can let me know, leave in the chat, and I will get back to you once I can. Today we're just going over this book cover that I'm working on, that I'm going to be using for my portfolio. This is just for fun. I'm reconnecting to the joy of art because it's so easy to think, you know, being a children's book illustrator is such a great job and doing this full time is the greatest thing in the world. But once it becomes work, it's just like any other job, and you really want to stay connected to what's fun. So updating your portfolio and ensuring that it reflects the skills and the techniques you want to be doing right now, if you're not doing that, it's going to become very exhausting for you, because it's very exhausting for me. I'm doing very well, doing better at least. Last week I couldn't go live and it was a moment. I was so unwell, but I'm doing better this week and I'm so happy to be having this moment with you guys. So usually I don't do bottom lashes, but we'll see. I'm actually not that great at it, particularly because I don't usually do it. And because this character is also wearing glasses, I feel like maybe it'll look weird if it's just poking out through the side and people don't know what this line actually is and what it symbolizes. But you know what? I'm going to scrap it. Keep it simple because I only have like an hour and a half with you guys today. I got to get back to work, and I'm committing to these streams because I enjoy it. I'm having fun, and I'm actually doing something for myself while doing something with you guys too. Wow, those lashes really helped. I might have to fill in the bubble later. I'm not really liking that. So why don't I go back to the skin? I feel like I reached this point in my career now where I'd say it's gotten a little, I've reached a point of not boredom, but systematic boredom where all my days look the same. And there was an excitement that I had a couple of years back. But now that I really understand the flow of what I'm working with, I get new projects, but the process is always the same. I open up my emails, I see what the brief is, I start sketching, sending in my work, getting feedback. And once it's approved, I move to colors and then sending it back, getting feedback. And once that's approved, it's finalized and I send the completed files. And now that I've gotten comfortable in this system, I realize, this is it. And if you are an artist and you already go through the process of creating art, sketching, moving into colors and finalizing and posting it online, it's honestly just like that. You just have to reference someone all the time once you meet those what would I call it? I forgot the word, to be honest, guys. Once you meet those requirements that you set for yourself, it's just like that. And I feel like that's the beauty of being an artist, is kind of like you're always in training. And once you actually get paid, or once people want you to do it for them, you're doing the exact same thing. You just have to listen more to what others are saying. And so it's honestly not too bad. It's just a matter of letting people know that you do it and other people coming to you and trusting you with that. And then that can be honestly harder than just saying, hey, I'm going to draw something today. If you can get over that hump of letting people know what you do and trusting yourself, because a really big part of this job is self-regulation. If you can trust yourself to say like, hey, I'm going to do this in 6 months and get it done, that actually speaks more than the ability to draw or paint very well. You will be very surprised that it's not about skill, it's about reliability and professionalism in this field. So it's more so, are you a dependable person? Rather, are you the greatest artist out there? So cozy flow illustrations, it sounds like a lot of pressure, and honestly, it is pressure. It's a reasonable amount of pressure, but I feel like it's a fair pressure. So if you could imagine somebody has finally reached the point of writing something, or they want to produce a piece of work and share it with the world, but they do not have the means, the artistic skills to make it attractive. They're coming to you with their baby and they're saying, hey, can you do this for him? And because I really, can you dress him up for me? Just dress up this story. And they're trusting that in that time frame that you'll get it done and that it'll be as smooth as possible. But the vision they had in their mind is exactly what you're going to do for them. And really and truly, they're just trusting you with a process they can't do themselves. So the pressure is just, can you follow through with what you're saying you're going to do for them? Because we already know you can draw and we already know you're an artist. So just trust in the fact that you are consistent with yourself. If you can be consistent with yourself and follow your own deadlines, you have a really high chance of making it in this industry because it's really just self regulation. Maliver says, my hearing isn't too good at times. I'm in the wrong line of work. Honestly, the level of instruction sometimes you get doing even in this industry and comparing it to others, I made so many mistakes because I read something wrong. I read the wrong email. I read the wrong headline. I forgot to read something. I read it, but I didn't even think that I read it. There's a lot of pressure, but remember, human error is always factored into this. So I feel like I feel bad when I get things wrong or when I kind of get in my head and I ruin things and then I get some feedback saying, "Hey, Shalene, this is not what we wanted. It's actually supposed to be blue, or you didn't draw something, or better yet, the deadline was actually not what we agreed upon. I thought it was this date, but it was supposed to be that date." When you get those things, you just have to accept that you made a mistake, acknowledge it for the life of you. Make sure you guys acknowledge these things, and then acknowledge the error, state what you're going to do, and find a way, make a proposition to make the other person, the client's life easier. Because working in illustration, unless you're working with like a really small company or a client who is just one person representing the entire company, you are usually dealing with tens of people that you cannot even see. So you get artwork, they get your artwork, and then they're showing it to like 10 other people that you will never hear of. You will just hear that, hey, they really like this. No, they didn't really like that. So do your best when you make a mistake to acknowledge the mistake, explain why you had that misunderstanding, and then continue by making a proposition to make the situation better. Because relationships in this industry is what keeps you hired, is what keeps you getting paid, is what keeps clients coming to seek you out, because everybody talks to everybody. So you really want to make a great impression and treat people with respect and kindness. And Malivers just said, I did nothing wrong. You see what? You know what? That's actually a deep statement. I'd go into it, but I'd go on a rant, and I'm not good at multitasking. As you can tell, I cannot talk while drawing at the same time. I literally cannot do two things at once. But you see, there are times where I know I did nothing wrong though, but I just take the L. There's times there are times where I just take the L because I'm just like, girl, gotta get paid, and I'm tired today, and it's okay this time. I can take it. It's all right. I do, especially when it's like human error. I'm like, geez, is this the hill I want to die on today, or is it more important for me to just move past this? The amount of L's that I've taken, oh my gosh. But honestly, no harm, no foul to me, because it's better to get, if you're seriously being misrepresented, that's different. But when it's one of those innocent things, you know what? Just just go with the flow. I feel like it's better to just get the project done and to have peace of mind than it is to kind of like let things drag on. You just have to know when to pick your battle. And that's how I deal with it. I do not suggest that for everybody. Everyone else has their own their own way of dealing with things. But I actually had a situation where I was misrepresented, and it was not nice. Like, I was so burnt out at that time, and burnout was not nice. Like maybe I can go into it more in like the future where the project and I are more separate, like more years are between me and that project. But it was one of those things where I'm just like, I am 2 weeks away from the end of this project, and if I really want to move on to the next thing and get a break, get my 3 month break that I planned for, do I really want to bring this up and potentially ruin my break by staying on this project? So I've learned there are some things, depending on where you are in your life, it might not be worth fighting for. Because if you know your vacation is coming up, do you want do you really want to bring certain things up and then rehash them right when you come back? And I feel like being an illustrator, the hardest part about this is like we get up, we draw every day, we start working, and this is my reality. Me sitting here with you guys is literally my everyday. And for someone else, they're gonna clock out at 9 to 5 or 8 to 1, 7 to 3, and they're done, okay? They're totally done because they're gonna get paid. They're on a regular payment cycle. They don't have to take their work home. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but for a lot of people that you'll work with, that is their situation. So the inconvenience that it brings to you lives with you, and it lives with me. It lives in this office that I work in, and it's very uncomfortable. But for the people who I do feel like bring up the mistakes and stuff, they don't have to live with that. So I feel like there are moments where you do have to advocate for yourself and say like, hey, this isn't something that I did. I think this is actually what happened, because it affects my workflow to know that this is an error that I did. Someone's one liner in an email can affect my 8 hour sprint of illustrating, because it takes away hours of what I've already done and submitted. So sometimes you got to defend yourself from those one liners and those emails, because trust me, when you do not have time to go back and redo stuff, and they're saying things and they're making comments that you feel are unfair, or input is being brought in at stages that you feel like it's not really the right time, it's really important to stand up for what you're seeing and what you're observing and giving them your perspective, because there are times where you really do have to speak up. Otherwise, they're just going to keep biting away at the spoon that's feeding them. So, you know what? See, I'm ranting again. I have to stop. But yeah, that was just a little heads up, because that does happen. So I feel like I did add some dimension with the highlights. Let me see. I don't want to push it too far. So I think I'm going to darken it. I need another layer of shadows. Cozy Flow Illustrations, you said, does this happen often or every now and then? I would honestly say every now and then, and it's not very often. In a year, maybe in my experience, I'll have times where I've misunderstood, and maybe that'll be like twice a year, and times where they've made mistakes maybe once or twice a year. And it also depends on the project that you're working on. So it's important to be mindful that it's not everyone because you're working with different people all the time. So it could just be a matter of the season that you're working. Like Christmas season, people might be in a bit more of a rush. Sometimes the offices are closed, so you're not, everyone's mindset is kind of just to wrap things up. So it might just be that, putting this off till later is actually more beneficial for them or for myself. So the places where errors happen are often like they vary, and I wouldn't say it's often. Not enough to make me feel like I hate this or like I can't do this anymore. It's usually very understandable. And if you're represented by someone, it helps, because you feel like if it's not something you can tackle on your own, your agent can really step in and be involved and help you with that, to explain it. So thankfully, it's not everyone. And usually the representatives you're working with, they're really kind and they're understanding, and they usually have an eye for detail and art and illustration so they can see where you're coming from. So it's not too much of an inconvenience. It's more or less just trying to get on the same page again, because everybody's trying to do a good job and to meet the requirements that the author or their own client is trying to reach. So everyone should be as understanding and forgiving as they can allow, as according to the deadline that you've been given. Yeah, this is actually coming together a little bit. Just a little. I can see it. Just a little. So I had to do a little bit of the hair because the face is becoming more detailed, and the hair was just too flat and it was annoying me. So I just decided to go in and add a bit of color. I don't know how I'm feeling about this green, but for now, I'm just gonna shade it and then figure it out later. So let's see. With my style of art, I try to keep it as soft, I think it's called soft cell shading, as possible, because I cannot get in the, if I get in my head about my own art process, then I realize that I waste a lot of time just trying to find brushes and adjust the flow, adjust the opacity, and all of these things. I waste time doing that. So I realized a couple years back I need to make this as simple as possible, especially because I'm using Photoshop and I'm just working digitally. So it's easy to get stuck on details and just zoom in and get lost in things like that when really there's no time for that. There's honestly no time to be doing all of that when I'm on a job. So simplifying my process has tremendously helped me, and making narrowing things down to just a few brushes and just working with opacity and just a couple textures to get everything done has been so helpful for my own sake. A lot of these things that we make easier for ourselves directly benefit our clients that we work for, even for ourselves. So the sooner I feel like you can nail down your style and your process and those consistent decisions that you make in your style, is the sooner I feel like you get a consistency all across your body of work that a lot of clients are looking for. They want to know, hey, can you draw the same character multiple times and it still looks like the same character? I feel like it comes down to proportions and ensuring the proportions of the character you start with are consistent throughout the book, but it also comes down to painting the exact same way every single time, and those decisions need to look similar. So highly suggest that if this is something you want to do, and find a way for it to be fun for you. For me, it's not that it's fun, it's just that I know that it's going to be fast, and if I can do something fast, that's what makes it fun, because I know like I'll have more time in the rest of the day to live and do other things. So when I'm working, it truly is just work, but when I'm doing my job, it's just a matter, sorry, when I'm working, it is work. But when I get to those processes, like when I'm actually doing the hair and the image starts coming together, that's when it gets fun for me, is when I'm like, wow, all those decisions that I've made actually are producing something that looks like I'm proud of. So I get joy in this career knowing that in the end it actually worked out. But the process is usually more strenuous for me because it's so much decision making, and it's it's honestly, it takes a lot of thought. Artists use a lot of their brain power to problem solve when it comes on to art. There is so much involved. There's color theory, there's anatomy, there's perspective, there's assuming what other people are going to see before they even see it. Like, you have to take on the perspective of, hey, this is what I'm drawing, but this is what they're going to see when they see it. There's just so much involved. So I feel like it really is such a great skill and a privilege to be an artist, because the ability to form and shape everyone else's perception of something, I think, is really powerful. I don't think a lot of people realize the credit that should be given to artists in multiple different industries. We literally shape society. It's it's so crazy. A lot of people don't think of it that way, but I really don't believe that the term starving artist is accurate, because a lot of artists, creators, and people who are making some of the most innovative things that we see today are designed by artists, made by artists, whether it's music, art, like literal illustration, painting, dance, just design as a whole. I'm like, man, we literally changed this whole world and making it interesting. Yes, Malver says we're literally the hardest workers. 100%. 100%. If I could sit down for 8 hours and know everything would get done, that would be great. If I could just type for a while and like this art just came up like AI is doing, that would be 100% awesome. But no, I have to rack my brain for 8 hours and it still isn't done. And I'm like, geez, I have to go at it again for another 3 hours here, another 3 hours there. Sometimes you just have to figure it out, and that's just the human condition, you know? The human experience is, it's not the same for every path that you're going to take. And to say that, I feel like it's so dishonest. And there's just too much that I feel like artists that we do and we contribute to that doesn't get seen, but it's treated as like an expectation, because we're so used to having art all around us that we don't even acknowledge, we don't really know how to identify. A lot of people don't know how to identify, like, a person made that, like they spent their night, their afternoon, a minute, days, their entire life thinking of this thing that made your morning commute, your morning coffee, your Google search 2 seconds faster or more convenient, more aesthetically pleasing. All of these things, I feel like it's really amazing to be a part of that. It's much easier to move some boxes around and sweep the floor. Legit! Oh. For minimum wage. Oh my gosh, it's so true. You know what? Last year I was like, why did I give up my job? Doing one of the simplest things ever. I was like, what is this? I actually understood like the Gen Z despair of like, oh my gosh, just give the minimum. Like, just do the bare minimum. And being a millennial at like near the end of the cycle, because I'm born in 1994, it's just hilarious because I'm just like, man, I'm putting in all this work because I need the merit in this industry, and I also want to be proud of what I'm doing. But I'm like, man, my life was so much easier when I was just stocking shelves. Like, I literally had nothing to worry about. I'm really good at stocking shelves, and I am a great cashier. I will tell you that. I love to talk to people, and I had fun. I actually had so much fun. My human interaction has gone from like 8 hours a day for my last job to maybe, if I'm lucky, an hour. An hour. I'm doing what I love, but at what cost? My sanity is genuinely just going. So really take that into consideration. Being an artist, I won't say that it means that you're going to be introverted, but I definitely do mean that the spaces and the places that you do work won't always be as social if your artistic process requires solitude. So consider that. Because I'm like, man, there is an advantage to being in a job where it's low stress and you can literally do anything else. But I wasn't doing what I loved. But now I'm doing what I love. But I'm like, man, it's high stress. It's actually high stress because, one, I love what I do, and two, people are actually depending on me. Nobody was depending on me in that sense when I was stocking shelves working at the airport. So, like, I knew that someone else can do this job. But now I'm in a position where I'm stuck for a couple months. But it's not bad. It just means that I have to really own this process that I'm in. So hey, I do not talk down to anybody because I've been at different parts of the workforce, but major props to those who feel like they have to do the bare minimum and they do it well, because that's a place to be, honestly, right now in this society. I don't know. I'm not hating on nobody, because when I'm staying up and I'm up till like what 4 a.m. in the morning trying to submit for a deadline because I just couldn't figure something out and it wasn't looking right, and I just can't send it to the client like that. Trust me, I wish I was at those jobs. I wish, because I miss my bed at 4 a.m. in the morning. I do. It doesn't happen often, but I do. So I try my best to avoid those scenarios. So let's see. This is looking kind of dark. I want to brighten this a bit. Let's see where this goes. I don't know. It's a bit warmer. I feel like I need to make some details on the shirt because it's just not, it's too flat for me. It's too flat. I don't even know what I want to do. So I'm just adding these lines to create the feeling that this is kind of like a ribbed shirt, but it'll also give some more dimension to the body and the curves of the body. So it doesn't look as flat. Like, I really was not liking that. So I don't know what I'm gonna do here. It might look totally different next week, but we'll see how that goes. Um, for now, it's passable. No, it's not. I don't like it. At least I don't like this part. Like, I did like this part, but I do want it to go down. I kind of wish there was more artists that shared that they do children's books online. And because I feel like the publishing industry is changing so much, there's so many new authors that are getting into publishing and they're desiring to create their own books. And not everybody can go to Penguin Random House and get their book to be sold and produced right away. That might take time. They might not really like the story just well. There might be just like just a discrepancy and the stars don't align in that way. But I feel like it'd be really awesome to see more artists enter into like this business space. I feel like it's not really something that's talked about too much yet, but it's been growing a bit more. But I feel like there is a gap between artists and, or should I say, children's book illustrators that are trying to get into the field and authors who are trying to get work done. So I really hope that there can be like a better economy for that, a better system, because I see so many authors looking for work to get done and I see so many illustrators looking for work, but I'm like, how come there's no, like, the disconnect is so strong? and the ideas of doing the traditional route genuinely doesn't work for everybody. And especially because sometimes it takes, if it takes the approval of someone else to like your story to get your book sold and to work with a really big a traditional publisher, then I feel like it can be, you're really leaving the possibility of your book in somebody, the success of your book in someone else's hand, and not everybody is able to do that. But I also do wish though that there was more of a respect for the process of art, because creating a book in illustration, like I'm sitting with you guys here and we're creating this together, and it's been 45 minutes and I've managed to get somewhere. Like you're actually seeing a bit of my process. And this is taking time. And I actually feel like it's so, it's not right that there's such a lack of understanding of how much it takes to really put a piece together. And if there was more education on how much illustrations cost, I feel like that would be super beneficial for authors coming up here and illustrators, because then I feel like it wouldn't be so hard to get into doing illustration if more people understood and respected the field and knew that, hey, this is some, like, art costs money and it's not free. So it's reasonable to expect to be paying hundreds of dollars, if not more, to get work done. And it's one thing to be breaking in and to be like a student and to also want to start small. But I also feel like very, like, even for me, when I'm encountering different authors, I do get surprised at the expectation for a 32-page book to cost like $500. And I'm just like, I don't think they understand that art costs money and time is expensive. And the exchange of, I feel like, clothing, fragrances, fitness, and all of those things don't always translate into art for some strange reason. Even music, I feel like, has a higher value to an extent sometimes than pieces of art, paintings, and illustrations. And I feel like the only spaces where art is kind of somewhat respected is if it's in a gallery. So there's an association with value when your work is in a gallery, but there isn't an association with value for some strange reason when it comes on to seeing artwork online or on a website or a print or something, that it's not always attributed the same value. So I feel like illustrators do get stuck with the desire of wanting to work with a traditional publisher, because you can't go to Penguin Random House or any of these other really established brands, and they're not going to pay you peanuts if, because they know that this is an expensive project. So they usually pay, they have higher pays, and it's desirable, but people don't know that. It's like, if you're on the in, if you're in the in group, then you kind of get those exclusives. And I know that it's not everybody that has like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in their back pocket, but I do feel like if people became more knowledgeable of the reality that this is also an industry where you need to invest money to create these bodies of work that are meant to be sold. Like these books are also products, right? Have a great day, Cozy Foot Illustrations. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon or day where you are. Thanks for stopping by. So I feel like it's really important to understand that, like, the artwork that you're creating, I feel like it's important to understand that this is somebody else's product. So it's not just art, it's someone else's product. And I feel like for a business owner, they come in with a perspective that is like, I need to save as much money as possible on the art so that I can, you know, make the process of selling this book and all the other avenues where they need to actually spend to make money. They want to save on the art too. And I feel like it's such a poor decision to do that, in my opinion. And I feel like as artists, it's so important to value that what you're doing is someone else's moneymaker, because there's a place where your art is genuinely like, it's a gift and it's nice and it's pretty and it's your passion. But you have to remember, if someone is trying to earn money off of your art, it speaks to, one, the value of your art, but it also speaks to the reality that there's an exchange that's happening. So to expect the artwork to be cheap, but to but for the client to expect a high return on your artwork, I feel like it's really short-sighted. And I wouldn't say it's criminal, because it's business. And I feel like that's the most important part, is that we sometimes, I feel like, the business side of being an artist isn't always represented well. And so when business owners are coming and they're like, hey, can you do my book for me? Or can you do an illustration for me? I feel like as an artist, a lot of us are not taking the stance that this is a business transaction. And because of that, we kind of lowball our prices, but it doesn't actually help us. It helps our client more than it helps us, because this is not just art, it's a business transaction. And it's a slippery slope for a lot of people, and that's why a lot of artists don't even get into doing like illustration or become illustrators, because it's like, why would I even want to subject myself to the expectations of someone else when the art that I'm making is for me? And 100%, like, if that's the case, I think you shouldn't do it. But if you do go into illustration, I feel like it's so important to value your art and see what is your art doing for other people. Because if they're selling your art, you have to remember that you are also being sold too, with every single purchase that is being made, especially if you're selling your rights and your ownership, you're also being sold too. So I do wish there was a bit more of an industry where artists can get their power back. And I wouldn't say get their power back, but they can acknowledge their power a bit more, to kind of like standardize the expectation of how much art actually costs. Because one person's doodle is another company's $1 million product, and takes their family on vacation several times a year. So would you say it's still worth $100 if it's paying somebody's mortgage? You really have to consider. I feel like it's really important for artists to take that mindset and to not sell themselves short, because artists have this amazing gift of being able to create something from literally nothing. But we also have, like, a lot of us, I won't say everyone, but a lot of us have this tremendous burden of feeling like we cannot ask for more. And I feel like for people who are creative, who have the potential to, we are literally walking business owners and innovators and pioneers in our own right, but we just lack the understanding of what it takes to speak for that value. While business owners, they're more comfortable, well, let's just say entrepreneurs usually are a bit more comfortable with the idea of finding the cheapest route to get their idea across, because they know it takes other people to do it. So sometimes holding all the cards blinds you from the big picture, because you're looking at everything you have in your hand and you're wondering, like, hey, is one way more than the other? I can't do everything at once, and you're overthinking what you have. But I feel like because it's a business transaction, if you're selling your art, you have equal, if not more, rights to speak for what it is that you want, because once that artwork leaves your hands, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone. And if you're not collecting royalties, or if you're not getting what you wanted from the transaction, I feel like it's kind of hurtful. At least it hurts me a little. So it's one thing to do that as a strategic move, and it's another thing to sell yourself short because you're scared, and I feel like everyone else is making a profit off of you without you ever really finding your voice, and or being positioned in a way where it works for you too. So that's my little rant on on that, because I do see like there's more authors more than ever, in my opinion, people publishing books, whether it's Amazon direct publishing, or like smaller publishing houses that people are going to. I think that's incredible. I also see so many people getting into children's book illustration, or just wanting to become artists as a whole. I just wish there was more of a connection point where people know that if they want to get a website done or an app created, they need like thousands of dollars. I wish it was the same when it came on to getting art done. And because it's so easy access, I do understand that that's not exactly possible. But it's just a thought that I have. Because there ain't no way that I would ever assume that getting some coding done for a new website or an app is going to be like $100. It's just not. Like, I might start there, but I'll be quickly disappointed. So that reality is seriously shown quickly. And even if you use social media, whether you go on TikTok or wherever, tech is like a huge industry. But you know, tech, as important as it is, there is always an artist in there. Just look around. There's a designer somewhere in there. There's an artist. I'm telling you, because ain't no code in this world that looks good enough to use without an artist making it look razzle dazzled. So brand design and all of that is art, and I feel like it's not seen as art, it's seen as like, this is a brand, this is a design. It's made and packaged in a way where it sounds expensive, and I feel like if artists could do that, man, we would be breaking we would be breaking so many ceilings. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, I hope so. As you said, Malaverse, that maybe someday people will understand the true value. 100%. 100%. And surprisingly, actually, a lot of people who own these companies are artists themselves. So it's really cool to see that when you really look at the top, this person is actually like a creative person. They just outsourced it, or they're getting someone else to do it. So I am learning from that. So I managed to add some texture to the hair. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it's coming along. Oh my gosh. I actually like, I'm kind of feeling it. I'm kind of feeling the texture. This is totally up my avenue. It's making me smile. I think I got a lot done in this hour. Small things, but big, big changes. But one thing I do want to do is actually get back to traditional painting. Like, I have not picked up a acrylic pen, a paintbrush with acrylics, watercolors, and like forever. That's where I started. And I'm so excited. I really want to get back to that. I think I'm going to start with watercolors and just start sketching. So digital is great and all, but there's something about holding a paintbrush There's something about it. I don't know. Like, it's just, it makes me smile as I talk about it. Like, looking at this makes me want to physically paint. And it's exciting and it's fun. Thanks, Miloverse. Thanks for saying it's looking great. You said what? What are you saying what to? I'm wondering like what I said. I'm trying to remember. Um, what could it be? Let's see. I think I need some color in the eyes. Oh yeah, traditional. Yeah, you're huge on traditional. Oh my gosh. Like you're killing it. Anybody, if you have not seen Malo versus work, please check out his page, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, or anywhere else. He's really wonderful at what he does. His pieces are so evocative and it's so great. Honestly, I feel like maybe that's why my own work is dying because I'm not doing traditional like Malibur is doing. So maybe that's my disconnect is why I'm having this return to what I love in my art. I need to return to my first and one true love, which is acrylic paints, sketchbooks, and watercolors. Like literally, what am I doing with my life? Of course. You're so welcome. Honestly, I see your work and I'm reminded all the time when it shows up in my feed. I'm like, this, I need to get back to this. I need to go back because when I look at traditional work, especially seeing Mal versus work in my feed, it's natural. It doesn't feel forced. It's so fluid and I'm like, I need to get my brain working with real medium again, like not like synthetics and digital. This is what pays me, but it's not always what's the most fun. So it's important to connect to those places. I think so. I'm speaking it, but I haven't done it. So I'm sure when I do, you guys will hear about it. Wow. Elena, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, you said that traditional for me is escape. It's my creative outlet. Digital is for work. Traditional is for my soul. You know what? I think you're onto something. I gave that a thought the other day and I said I think I should use traditional work for genuinely my heart. Like I need to express my heart through traditional work and find a way to make art therapeutic again like it used to be because when I sit at this table, I all I feel is like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? So I'm actually gonna connect the dots because you guys are onto something. Malverse and Elena, you guys, thank you for that. I need to take a page out of your books because I've been on this journey for 4 weeks now, and I'm like, I'm drawing what I like, but I'm still not at the core of what I want and the experience I used to have when I was making art. So I still feel a bit more disconnected there. I'm definitely gonna, maybe even this next month, I'm gonna give traditional a shot. Yeah, I think I need to use like a sharp brush for this one. Eyebrows are so important when it comes onto a piece. At least in my pieces, I feel like if I do one, if I make the arch wrong, it throws everything off. And if it looks too flat, it doesn't match the hair. So I have to get this right. I really gotta be strategic with even the eyebrows. Thanks, Maliverse. I'm looking forward to what I create too. It actually stresses me out when I think about how disconnected I am from my artistic flow when I sit down and just want to draw. I'm so disconnected from it that it makes me anxious. So I'm just like, I'm I'm interested in what I'm gonna make too. I'm definitely gonna share it. So I kind of like it fuzzy there. I think I should do the same thing to the end. I think that's enough texture. Like, I'm not crazy about details like that. If you guys haven't noticed already, I just like to get the point across, and I'm trying to go more into doing colors. So I know there's not too much color here now, but that's that's the thought. At least the thought is there. That's all I can really say. I think I liked it the way it was before, actually. I did have her wearing glasses. Oh, that's not it. I wanted her to be wearing glasses. That was the aim. But we'll see. I'm not sure. I'm not totally sold yet. If it doesn't make sense in the end, then I'm not including it. It has to add to the piece and not subtract from it. Okay. Okay, so my goal going into next week with this piece is to finish it. I don't want to take too long with it. I spent an hour sketching it last time. No, that's not true. I think so, actually. I think I spent an hour on it so far with the sketch, and then I spent half an hour to 45 minutes doing the base colors and doing the line work. Today, I spent about an hour coloring it, and I think I just want to take it into completion. It's gonna look different probably the next time you guys see it next week, but yeah, I'm not sure where I'm gonna take it because I'm at the stage now where I've done a lot of the base work that annoys me. This is the hard part. I finished the hardest part of doing the work. I just have to do like details, fine tune colors, and push the little things that I'm looking out for that make it make sense to me, doing lighting and things like that. But I think the base of what it looks like is good enough. Actually, let me do some highlights before I finish up for today. I'll do some highlights. I think I want to do some. Need to. Maybe blue. Nope. It's too strong. So let me zoom out there. Whoops. Hmm. So Maliverse asked, do you also work on the weekends or strictly Monday to Friday? It depends on the project and what I'm trying to achieve, to be honest. Like, ideally, Monday to Friday is what I do. And that's usually what happens when I have like a low period, and I just strictly keep it like that. But when I have multiple projects, depending on the stage that I'm in of the project, I do weekends as well if I know it's gonna make my week work much better. Because if I can get ahead, then it just makes the stress and my anxiety from having to do things in the week, it just lowers it, and I don't mind. And it depends on the project, really. Like, if I know I'm sketching and I'm doing a lot of sketches, then because that's a favorable part of the process, I'd save that for the week. But if I know I'm doing like flat colors and doing the flats and getting all the layers down, I might take that into the weekend because that is stressful for me. It's just too long. It takes way too long. I might take that into the weekend. So it really, honestly, it varies. I would say it varies. I'm not against working on weekends, especially sometimes, like, if I know this client will pay me. I know I talk about money a lot, but if I know if they're going to pay me within 30 days of sending everything, I will work on the weekend. If I want to get paid sooner, then I'd rather do that. Otherwise, I don't mind. At this stage in my life, it's not a bad thing to work on the weekends. And I'm married, but it's not, our situation isn't in a way where it's like no tech after 5 p.m. or anything. So there's a lot of flexibility, I would say. What I do gets my family forward. So it's better that I make certain decisions that, like, if it's, hey, I don't mind getting paid sooner. So yeah, it's one of those things. I don't mind it. But when I do have children and get to that place, I probably wouldn't do weekends. Then again, maybe I will if I want to get paid sooner. So I don't know. It's hard because it's a business and everything. I do what makes the most sense in the long term. I know a lot of people don't do that, but I feel like I don't have much of a strain because I can just take off a day on Tuesday and just not work because I worked on Saturday. So that's kind of like my thought process behind it. Okay, I kind of feel in the highlights a little. You guys can't see it as much on your end, surprisingly. I don't think so, but it's there. It's totally there. I think the highlights are a nice little addition. That's kind of cute. Oh my gosh. No, I'm not doing that one. Thanks. Thanks for the feedback. It helps. Let's see. So I know next week when you guys see it, when I add the highlights everywhere, it'll look so much better. But I like where it's going. I don't want to draw too much focus to the figure, but I do like it. I'm happy with that. So I think I need to mute this a bit more, make this a bit. I kind of like that. It's like Jamaica blue. Okay, now I'm just playing around. I feel like this is a generally good place to stop. I'm gonna have to play around with the text again to help it match the image a bit more and so that it works. And then I'm gonna prepare a a mock-up to put this illustration on, and hopefully like next week it's done. Then I'm also gonna do the mock-up situation on live as well. And then it's just gonna be another portfolio piece that I put into the bucket with the others. So I feel really good with where I reached. I had fun, and I feel like that was the most important thing. And I didn't sacrifice quality, which is really important. So the remaining of what's left is just bringing it together and making it a lot more aesthetically pleasing and cohesive. And I feel like this is the fun part. The fun part is really beginning because I don't have to do the flats anymore and the base shadows and all of that. So it's just highlights, details, adding some sun, some reflections, text. And then next week, we are going to crush this and complete it and move on to, I don't know what we're going to move on to next, but we'll see when we get there. If you guys enjoyed the video, you can, or the live stream, you can like the live stream. Let me know your feedback if you're catching this on the replay. And I think this is going to be where we end it. Thank you so much, Malaverse and Elena, and any others who were online while we were streaming. It was so nice having you guys here and having this discussion. So if I see you next week, I'll see you next week. But for now, thank you for joining and have a wonderful weekend. Of course, I'm so happy to have these live streams with you guys. So have a great weekend. I will see you next week, Friday. Wait, actually? Wait, yeah, next week, Friday, Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. So see you guys.